Hello, college football fans. This is Gary Greene, longtime Las Vegas handicapper and professional sports bettor for the past 35 years here in Las Vegas. And this is your college football marquee game of the week for week number 11, preview and pick. We're going to look at this game now where the number 11 Alabama Crimson Tide come into Baton Rouge on a Saturday night, 7:30 Eastern Time. This game will be televised on ABC. They come in as a 3-point road favorite with the total being 58.5 against the number 15th ranked LSU Tigers. Now, when we look at this game 2 years ago, it was a game that was in LSU, and the final score was LSU 32-31 victory in overtime in one of the best games that year in college football. Last year, Alabama got some revenge. They won by 2 touchdowns, 42-28, as Milroe went off, the quarterback for Alabama, with 155 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. What we've seen in the last couple years is LSU has been able to score points. They have had high-flying offenses, good quarterback play, and good wide receiver play, but the defense has been pretty much more than just about average. And the problem is they have trouble against scrambling quarterbacks. Now, 2 weeks ago before the bye, LSU was beating Texas A&M in a very hostile environment, pretty good. And all of a sudden something happened. And what happened was the A&M quarterback got hurt and the backup came in, and he was a scrambling quarterback, Marcel Reed. And what happened? He proceeded to score on every single possession, and A&M ended up pulling away on LSU in a game that wasn't even close late. So LSU's got to rebound, and they got to rebound quickly. And again, for both of these two teams, the losing team is going to end up getting a very poor bowl invite. They're not going to get invited to the final playoff of 12 teams getting invited with a loss here. That's going to end one of their 2 seasons. So it's a gigantic game. This is a playoff game right now, basically in week number 11. With 4 games to go still, this is the biggest game that both of these teams will basically have pretty much for the rest of the year. Now, when we look at the 2 quarterbacks, first off, let's look at Nussmeier for LSU. Now, this guy's a high flyer passing quarterback. He's not really a guy that's going to run it all that much, but he is number 2 passing in the SEC. He's number 8 passing in the entire country. Okay, he's got 20 passing touchdowns, and he's got 328 passing yards per game. So this team's offense is predicated on him passing the ball and doing well at it. When the LSU defense went against one quarterback so far, or when the Alabama team went against one quarterback that's just like Nussmeier, that was Georgia's Carson Beck, they allowed 439 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, they did get 3 interceptions, and they were the difference in pulling out a victory against a really good Georgia team. So we know that Alabama can score some points. Obviously, the score against Missouri a couple weeks ago is a real misleading one because Missouri's quarterback Cook was out. So throw that out the window. That team was flat and had nothing, no juice whatsoever, and it was just a wire-to-wire win for Alabama. But when we look at Milroe against Georgia, a top 10 defense, 27 for 33, 374 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did throw an interception, but he had 16 rushes as well for 117 and 2 touchdowns. Against Vanderbilt, he was 18 for 24 for 310 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So we know both of these guys can do it through the air. We know that Milroe can really do it running the ball. And we know that really for the most part, LSU's defense has been their downfall as far as I see for the last few years. I'm not a big Brian Kelly, head coach of the LSU team, fan. This team makes a lot of mistakes, and in-game adjustments are not one of his specialty. So he's going to have his best game hat on Saturday for them to be able to pull out a victory against a hungry Alabama team as well. But when we look at LSU's offense, they have no trouble scoring and putting points on the board. 44, 36, 34, 42, 29, 34. And then they had the 23-point effort in the loss against A&M. They had 3 turnovers in the game, which is usually already a recipe for disaster, and you're not going to win too many games with 3 turnovers in a game. But they finished with 429 yards. But it's a little bit deceiving because when you look at the drives that they had in the loss at A&M, they had a 10-play drive, they missed a field goal. Then they had a 6-play drive, they missed a field goal. Then they threw an interception. Then they fumbled. So basically 4 straight bad drives, right? Now let's add another interception. So 5 drives in a row, 4 turnovers, 3 straight drives with a turnover. Then they finally get a touchdown. Then they get an interception. Then they get a touchdown. But again, not enough. Now, LSU's offensive line will be missing one of their key offensive guards. But that, to me, just means that that's going to make them be a team that's going to pass the ball more. Usually the guard play is going to be helpful for running the ball. They're not really a great running team. I expect LSU to pass the ball against Alabama 45 to 50 times in this game. Now, the good news for Nussmeier is the offensive line pass protection is just about the best in college football. Just 4 sacks for Nussmeier this year. He has been able to get away, and he has been able to get enough time to throw and find guys often for big plays as well. Now, LSU, again, they're not a running team. They can pass block. So with a solid veteran quarterback and 4 solid catching threats, Lacey being the number 1 threat, I think he has a big game. I'm not going to go crazy on my prop. I'm 9-0 now with prop plays on the videos and the radio show guest spots that I do. But this isn't one I would do it with because they do mix the ball around to 4 or 5 different receivers. But I expect that Lacey could be the difference maker in this game for LSU, especially if they win the game. Now, when we look at the offense for Alabama, at home, 34, 27, 41, 42, and 63 points. So at home, like a lot of teams in college football, the home atmosphere is big, and they've been able to really put the scoreboard and light it up. Okay, but their 2 losses both came on the road. So in 3 road games, they have 2 road losses. They lost at Tennessee and they lost at Vanderbilt. In these games, Milroe's been sacked 16 times. And really this year, it could be about 25 because this guy's a Houdini. A lot of running and scrambling quarterbacks will get away. He's a big guy. You can't tackle him from way up high. You almost often have to get him low or get 2 guys to tackle him and bring him down. So he's been able to avoid a lot more sacks, but the offensive line has not been great. So that gives a little hope because when you're playing on the road in a loud environment, this could really give a little juice to the defensive line pass rush for LSU, and it might be a chance for them to have one of their better efforts on Saturday night. Now, when we look at the Alabama wide receiver play, in the past they had 2, 3, 4 studs. Really, right now they have 1, and he's the youngest kid on the team, Ryan Williams. But this guy's a superstar. 36 catches, 702 total yards. He's averaging 20 yards per catch, so he's making a lot of big pass completions. Now, I'm not that high on the rest of the wideouts. I think this has got to be the worst overall core of wide receiving talent that Alabama's had in years, and that's pretty much why they struggled on the road. That's usually when the veteran guys or the talent shows up when you're on the road in a tougher environment, and that's why they have 2 losses on the road so far. So I'm not a trend better. I'm a facts better. And the facts here is Alabama should not be an away field goal favorite. They should not be laying 3 points. If I was making the line, I would have made LSU 3 points. Kelly isn't a great coach. If you've listened to me over the years, you know I hate this guy. He's never won a big game, just like a lot of other coaches that get a lot of acclaim. But when the big games come, they succumb. And that's what's happening with this guy over his career. But in this situation, I feel that the atmosphere in Baton Rouge, you're going to see all the lights and the phones lit up in the dark, in the nighttime. The atmosphere is going to be a little bit too much, I think, for Milroe and company because I just don't think he has enough weapons to score point for point with LSU in this ball game. I'm going to go with my free pick of the week in this game, LSU by 7 points. I look for them to win this game straight up, and this is just going to be one of the better games, I think, of the weekend. And you don't want to miss this game. And hopefully you will be able to check out all the rest of our videos. We have a video up with the BYU-Utah preview game and a pick as well there. And we'll have some other nice videos up for NFL this weekend. And, of course, I always try to do a video on the Sunday and Monday night games. So check out all those videos. And I say always, please do not ever bet what you cannot afford to lose. Do not bet parlays. And may all your wagers be winning ones. You've been listening to Gary Greene, and Gary Greene wins. Have a great weekend, folks.